9 experienced hikers. One mountain in Russia. One night in February 1959. By morning, all 9 were dead. Their tent was ripped open from the inside. They ran barefoot into minus 30-degree temperatures. Some had crushed skulls with no external wounds. One was missing her tongue. Soviet authorities classified the files for 30 years. The official cause of death, an unknown compelling force. This is what happened on Dead Mountain. Imagine you are a detective. You arrive at a crime scene in the middle of a Russian mountain, minus 30 degrees. A blizzard so violent you can barely see your hand in front of your face. You find a tent, ripped open. From the inside, you find footprints in the snow. 9 sets, all leading away from the tent, into the darkness, into the storm. No footprints coming back. You follow them. Half a mile down the mountain, you find the first 2 bodies. Frozen. No shoes. No coats. In minus 30 degrees, they had run barefoot into a blizzard. You keep searching. You find more bodies. Then the details start to make no sense at all. One woman is missing her tongue, completely. Not cut. Gone. As if it was never there. 2 men have skulls crushed by a force doctors compare to a car crash. No external wounds. As if something squeezed their heads from the inside. One body is so radioactive the clothes glow under UV light. And the Soviet government, one of the most powerful in the world, looks at all of this evidence and writes 6 words in the official report. Death by an unknown compelling force. Then they seal the files for 30 years. This is the story of Dyatlov Pass. January 23rd, 1959. Sverdlovsk, Russia. Igor Dyatlov was 23 years old and the best hiker anyone at the Ural Polytechnic Institute had ever seen. He had planned this expedition for months. The route, a grade 3 difficulty hike through the northern Ural Mountains, the highest difficulty classification that existed. It was dangerous, but not impossible. Not for people like them. The group was 9 people, 7 men and 2 women. All experienced, all fit, all excited. Zenaida Kolmogorova, 22, was known for her laughter. She never stopped laughing. People said you could always find the group by following the sound of her laugh. Lyudmila Dubinina, 20, was the youngest. She wrote poetry. Her last journal entry before the expedition read, "I wonder what the mountain will show us." Semyon Zolotaryov was the oldest at 37, a World War II veteran who had survived things none of the others could imagine. He had joined the group at the last minute. Nobody knew him well. Some of the others found him strange. He always seemed to be watching. On January 25th, they boarded a train. They were singing, laughing, taking photographs. It was the last time anyone outside that mountain would see them alive. February 1st, 1959. They had been hiking for 9 days. The weather was getting worse. Dyatlov had written in the group journal that they were behind schedule because of the storm. He decided to camp on the slope of the mountain they called Kholat Shakhl. In the local Mansi language, Kholat Shakhl means dead mountain. They set up their tent at 5 p.m. The last photographs show them digging the tent into the snow, smiling, joking. The final photograph in the camera shows a dark, blurry image. It is unclear what it shows. Some researchers believe it shows a light in the sky. Others believe it shows nothing. The camera that took it was found inside the tent, still working, still loaded with film. Nobody knows what happened after that photograph was taken. The tent was found 9 days later. The rescuers described the scene in their official reports with one word: Impossible. February 26, 1959. 9 days later. Search and rescue teams found the tent. What they saw made experienced mountaineers physically sick. The tent had been cut open from the inside, not torn by wind. Cut, deliberately, with a knife, from inside, as if someone, or multiple people, needed to get out immediately and had no time to use the entrance. The tent was still full of their belongings: shoes, coats, food, cameras, all inside, all untouched. The stove was assembled but not lit. Outside, in the snow, leading away from the tent and down the mountain, footprints. 9 sets. Some showed people walking normally. Some showed people walking on their heels, as if in a trance. None showed anyone running. The footprints simply stopped, as if 9 people had walked off the edge of the world. The bodies were found in stages, each discovery more disturbing than the last. The first 2, Krivonishenko and Doroshenko, were found half a mile from the tent under a large cedar tree. They had built a small fire. Their hands were burned, as if they had tried to grab burning branches from the fire with their bare hands. They were wearing only underwear. Their clothes had been carefully cut off and placed beside them. Later, investigators realized the clothes were radioactive. 3 more bodies were found on a line between the tree and the tent. Dyatlov himself was found facing back towards the tent, as if he had been trying to return. His expression was described by the first rescuer as a man who saw something he could not survive. Seeing Kolmogorova was found 200 meters from Dyatlov. She was smiling, frozen in the snow, eyes open, smiling. The rescue team leader wrote in his report, "I have been in this work for 20 years. I have never seen a smile like that on a corpse." The last 4 bodies were found in May when the snow melted. They had been hidden under 4 meters of snow in a ravine. What the medical examiners found ended any possibility of a rational explanation. Dubinina, the youngest, the poet, was missing her tongue, her eyes, her lips, the soft tissue of her face. The medical examiner's report stated that the injuries were consistent with a massive external force, but there was no external wound. The force had come from outside, but left no mark on the skin. Zolotaryov, the old soldier, had his chest crushed. Every rib on his right side was broken. The force required, according to the forensic report, was equivalent to a car traveling at 60 miles per hour hitting a stationary person. His skin was unbroken. The medical examiners had never seen anything like it. One wrote privately, "I would say these injuries are impossible, except that they exist." And then there was the radiation. 3 of the hikers' clothing tested highly positive for radioactive contamination, specifically on their chests and waists, in patterns that suggested direct contact with a radioactive source. No radioactive source was ever found on the mountain. For 65 years, the world has tried to explain what happened on Dead Mountain. None of the explanations work completely. Theory 1. The military. The Soviet military was testing secret weapons in the area that night. A weapon that creates infrasound, sound waves below human hearing, that cause panic, madness, and the feeling that something invisible is attacking you. The radiation supports this. The military denies everything. Theory 2. The Mansi. The local Mansi people had warned outsiders never to go to Kholat Shakhl, Dead Mountain. They said something lived there, something that did not tolerate visitors. In the entire history of Mansi oral tradition, no Mansi person has ever died on that mountain. Only outsiders. Theory 3. The light. Multiple witnesses in nearby towns reported seeing bright orange spheres of light in the sky over the mountain that night. The Soviet military investigated and classified the report. To this day, no explanation for the lights has been given. Theory 4. The thing in the snow. This theory has no official name. It comes from a single source, a KGB officer who worked on the investigation and spoke anonymously before his death in 2008. He said, "We found evidence of something on that mountain that we did not have a category for. We did not know what it was. We still do not know what it was. I have spent 50 years trying to forget what I read in those files." He refused to say anything more. 2019, 60 years later. The Russian government reopened the Dyatlov Pass case. They announced a new official investigation. After 2 years of investigation, they announced their conclusion: an avalanche. The world was not satisfied. Survivors' families pointed out there were no signs of avalanche. The tent was not buried. The footprints were not disrupted. The injuries were not consistent with avalanche trauma. And an avalanche does not remove a person's tongue. The lead investigator of the 2019 case, a man who had spent 2 years on the files, gave one final press conference. A journalist asked him directly, "Do you believe the avalanche theory?" He was silent for 11 seconds. 11 full seconds on camera. Then he said, "I believe we have reached the conclusion that was available to us." He resigned from the investigation 3 weeks later. He has not spoken publicly about Dyatlov Pass since. 9 people went up that mountain. 9 people died. The causes of death include injuries that are medically impossible to explain. The radiation has never been sourced. The missing body parts have never been explained. The lights in the sky have never been identified. The files were sealed for 30 years. The 2019 investigation was abandoned. Dead Mountain still stands. The pass is named after Igor Dyatlov now. Tourists go there. Hikers climb it every year. Some of them report strange lights in the sky. Some report feeling sudden, unexplained panic. Some report coming back different. None of them report seeing anything, which is, perhaps, the most terrifying thing of all. The last page of the original 1959 investigation file contains one final handwritten note. It was added after the case was officially closed. The handwriting does not match any of the investigators. Nobody knows who wrote it. It says, "Do not send anyone else."